complete failure of containment, a full meltdown. Yeah, that would actually be really scary if that happened. And that basically is what happened at Chernobyl. And so this commenter is asking, well, what would happen if that happened? Well, yeah, you would get Chernobyl. Something to keep in mind is that had they actually owned what happened and did a proper emergency response, told people to shelter in place, and provided potassium iodine pills to the public, then they would have reduced these, say, 4,000 cancers down to many dozens of cancers. And so Chernobyl could have been far less impacted if they simply had done a proper emergency response. What's even more important is that when it comes to Western design reactors, they have a containment. The reason why Chernobyl's containment didn't work is because it didn't have one. In Western designs, like a 3 Mile Island, it had a containment, and so when the meltdown occurred, it was mitigated by the containment. The result from 3 Mile Island is that we only got around 1 millirem of dose to the average member of the public there. That's about the daily dose you get just for living and breathing here on the earth. You get about 320 millirem per year. And so 1 millirem, that's basically what you get in a day, just because you're alive. And so a containment is something that prevents that kind of a release. Here in the United States, we have evacuation zones. So if there was any kind of a release, like what happened at Fukushima, you should do an evacuation. Now, it needs to be far more orderly than what occurred with Fukushima, because the only deaths that occurred from Fukushima were from the panicked evacuation. And so what's far better is to not need an evacuation at all, right? And that's what these new small modular reactors do that are coming out with NuScale and the GE Hitachi BWX 300. The evacuation zone is in the fence, so that if you did have a full meltdown and you did have a breach of containment, the amount of radioactivity that's released would not require an evacuation outside the facility. And so these newer technology ones, they're just incredibly exciting. But the old ones, they're incredibly safe. 3 Mile Island is a great example. And of course, if we did have another Fukushima, which I don't believe we will, we need to have an orderly evacuation, because again, the only expected measurable medical effects from Fukushima were from fear. The panicked evacuation is the only observable deaths that scientifically you can say are attributed to Fukushima. And then there's a lot of fear that gives stress-related effects that came after that. So something to keep in mind. Thanks for the question. Have a good day.